After spending one full year with my LS Swap 1 series, I've got a couple of updates for you. It's been just over 1 year. I've put about 5,000, a little over 5,000 miles on it since I've fully completed the project. So if you're not familiar with it, let me just give you a quick rundown on what we're dealing with here. So this is a 2009 128. Started out with about 200,000 miles when I picked it up, almost exactly 200,000 miles. It's got about 205 and change on it now after trying to daily drive it as much as possible over the last year since completing the swap. If you followed along, you already know pretty much everything that's on this video because it's all been documented, but just a quick rundown. We do have a 5.7 liter LS1 with a cam. It's basically the only modification, and an LS6 intake manifold. We have all of this swap kit from LSE90, and it's been working great so far. Really nothing else to report here in the engine bay. It's mostly all BMW stuff. We still have the BMW radiator, condenser, coolant tank. Just the motor and transmission's been changed out. We're still running the BMW power steering pump, the stock BMW power steering pump. And we do have a universal air conditioning compressor down there. So the air conditioning still works. We have only a couple of interior modifications. We have a full F80 interior for front and rear seats. Heated seats still work, memory still works. I have the rear seats in here as well. Really not too huge on them. They don't fit perfectly. They look okay, but it's not like exactly perfect. Alcantara steering wheel, billet work, shift knob with a shift lever that's too long. This is the 8-inch one, so I'm going to be switching back to a 6-inch one. We just got a simple phone mount for the Holley Terminator X screen. Gauges, stock 128 gauges with a 1M overlay over top. And that pretty much wraps it up in here, but the stock radio still works just fine. Windows, sunroof, everything interior-wise works. Air conditioning and heat still works great. You can have it set on auto mode or max AC or anywhere in between, and everything still functions the way that it's supposed to. Underneath the car, pretty simple here as well. Stock BMW power steering rack. We've got some custom-made heater hoses and air conditioning lines. The air conditioning lines come from LSE90 as well. It's a bolt-in solution for the air conditioning. We do have M3 control arms on the front, the lower arm and the thrust arm. The thrust arm does have a monoball upgrade. And I'm happy to report that there really is no extra noise or vibration from that. It does just handle a whole lot better. So that was a nice upgrade. I would do that again over the stock rubber mount. Even for like daily driving, it's been good. We do have full F80 M3 brakes, front and rear, with the Seams Legit Garage bracket here. These brakes have been fantastic. These are non-OEM rotors. These are rotors from Rock Auto. And the brake pads as well. I don't remember the exact brand, but so far no issues with them. They're not warped or anything, but I mean, I also don't track the car like that, but they've been really good to me so far. We do have Öhlins road and track coilovers. A bit overkill for my daily driver setup. I do have these set 2 clicks from Full Soft, and for the extremely shitty roads here in PA, they've been really good. You can still hit bumps and it doesn't crash, but it also doesn't rattle your teeth out either. It's a pretty happy medium. I was kind of worried about the coilovers being too stiff for this setup, but for daily driving, it's been really, really good. Still have stock BMW motor mounts. We have CX Racing swap headers that are made for an LS in a BMW 1 Series or 3 Series. And then we have their pipes that come with them too. So it comes with the headers and then this section of pipe with the flex pipe up to this part. And then I ended up custom making this jaggedy ass Y pipe here. I added a cat. I was trying to eliminate some drones, so I put a cat in here and it helped a little bit, but not a whole lot. And this kind of runs out back to a stock 135i Burke exhaust, which sounds amazing, but does have a good bit of drone. And considering I drive this car to and from work about 45 minutes each way, I was kind of getting sick of it. So I did try to swap the exhaust out. I found a really good deal on a 135i cat back from, or axle back from Meistercraft, and picked it up, installed it, and I was kind of on the fence about it. It actually got rid of the drone 100%. The car was a lot more enjoyable to drive, but I did not like how it sounded. It almost made it sound like a Mustang. It's kind of hard to describe, but it was raspy down low, and it just kind of sounded gargly, whereas this sounds really, really clean. So I ended up putting this back, and I chopped the weight that was on the other one off and welded it on here. So kind of hoping that knocks the drone down a little bit. I haven't really test drove it yet. Here in the back, we've got mostly you know, stock suspension. We've got the stock 128 lower control arms. The toe arms are the only ones that I have not replaced yet. I actually just picked up some new track rod ended toe rods or toe arms for the rear of here that I'm going to be installing, and I'll have to do another alignment. I can kind of feel the rear end of the car kind of skirt around a little bit when you're on full throttle. It's not like the tires are breaking loose, but it feels kind of like the toe angles are changing a little bit. So I'm going to change those arms out, and hopefully that helps that concern a little bit, but even then it's really not that bad. We do have the Ellis E90 front trailing arms here, and then we have E90 M3 upper control arms as well. One of the best upgrades I did on this car was in E90 M3 differential. This is a 385 gear from a manual M3 with used M3 axles. So far it's been awesome. Clutch dumps, ripping through gears, no issues with it so far. It's been really, really good. Again, the F80 brakes in the rear of the car too. Now, let's go over some failures we had on the car. So over the past year, I've only had a couple of failures on the car, and really only 2 of them were kind of, you know, semi-major, but not even really that. So the first one we had was really bad vibration started coming from the car. What I found was that the drive shaft weights actually flew off. So 2 of these little washers had come off the drive shaft while I was just cruising down the street, and started having a major vibration. So luckily I bought the drive shaft from Precision Drive Shaft Technologies in Florida. I called them up and they were very, very helpful. They paid to have it shipped back to them. They rebalanced it and repainted it and shipped it back to me free of charge. So hey, good business on them. I would definitely buy a drive shaft from them again. Looked like it was kind of like a one-off deal where that happened. So not really even a good failure, just kind of a failure in general. 2 coolant leak failures. The first one was a coolant expansion tank on the top side of the engine. That failed like almost immediately after the swap. That one had, you know, probably a crap ton of miles on it. It just started leaking. Took care of that, no problem. We had a secondary coolant leak start here at this petcock. I originally had like the stock BMW petcock coming up out of it, and then had like a silicone cap over it with clamps, and the silicone just started coming apart and started leaking. So this one's from Guru Auto Works. Nice block off for the radiator. It's been holding strong for probably 1,000+ miles now, and everything's been great with it. But that's it as far as we go as far as failures. Otherwise, this car has been super enjoyable to drive, and has been great. I drive, like I said, about 22 miles to work each way, and it's like a really good mix between highway and stop and go traffic. And this car will sit in traffic all day long in a 100-degree heat wave with the air conditioning on full blast and not overheat, and just sit there and work. It cruises down the highway 80 miles an hour, very, very minimal vibrations. I did spend some time adjusting drive shaft angles to get the driveline vibrations down a little bit. I did end up adding like a small spacer here underneath of the trans mount to try and get the drive shaft angles within tolerance with each other, and they're not perfect, but they are pretty good. Another thing that helped was flipping this drive shaft 180 on the Seems Legit Garage adapter here, and that helped a lot too. So it's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect. It definitely has some driveline vibration, a little bit more than, you know, like an OEM car would, but for like a completely swapped car, it's really, really not that bad. Cosmetic wise, really didn't do that much. I mean, besides doing like a full paint job, I mean, that's kind of a lot, but I ended up doing that in my garage. You can see my video on that. Painted it stock OEM crimson red color. We have Apex wheels on there, VS 5RS wheels, with 235/40 18s in the front and 265/35 18s in the rear. Fit is really good. I did roll the fenders, but I don't have any kind of rubbing, scraping issues. I did have to raise it a little bit. I had it a little bit lower than this at the initial point when I put the coilovers on, but it kind of wanted to wreck the front fenders really hard over potholes. So I ended up raising it just a little bit, and it might still contact this front outer fender nub right here every once in a while on a really hard, like a turn and a hit, but it's really not too bad, and I don't really notice any kind of scraping in the car. We have like a side skirt and front lip from Flow. That's like an Australian company or something. I'll link it in the description, but these are probably one of my favorite ones in the car because a lot of them are just really goofy looking and huge. Decided not to go for a 1M bumper. Kind of a little just too aggressive for me sometimes. We did end up tinting the crap out of it. We got 50 on the windshield and 15 on the sides, 5 on the sunroof. It's nice and dark. I'm still on the fence about it. I do kind of like the fishbowl look, but It's more for like a really clean OEM car. This is kind of like a, you know, ratty little sports car. So we kind of went with the tint job on it. We've got an OEM carbon fiber spoiler on the rear. So we've got some Blackline LCI tail lights. I did modify the rear diffuser a little bit there, so you can see the inner part there got replaced with a little bit of mesh. But otherwise, I really didn't go too crazy on the exterior. But yo, if you're looking for a car to swap, you don't even have to be like a BMW guy. These chassis are so easy to just jump into and swap. So you can do a 1 Series or a 3 Series, an E90. You can start with a 328 or a 335, a 128 or a 135, kind of however you want to choose to get going on your project. But like, this has been one of the most enjoyable car projects that I've ever had. I've been modifying cars for 15 years, and I've driven this one the most, and this one's brought me the most joy because it just got put together and it just works. It sounds awesome. It's been reliable. It looks good, and it just does all the right things. Not to mention, you can build yourself one of these for significantly cheaper than purchasing a clapped out E90 M3. So there's a price video on this, but just a quick recap. I'm into the whole swap kit, about $14,000. That was with buying the car. I also had a motor and transmission already, so doesn't really count. I'm probably more into the car about 20K if you take into account the suspension, the brakes, the wheels, the tires, engine swap. The total cost of the car with buying it probably closer to about $20,000. Which is not bad for like a swapped car. I know it sounds like a ton of money, but obviously you can do it cheaper, or you could go way, way more expensive. This is like a basic ass cam only setup. So kind of sky's the limit with the build price on one of these, but relatively speaking, it's easy to do. And because there's so many parts to be able to do it, it's a really quick swap. I had this whole swap turned around in about 3 months. Would I trade this 1 Series for an E90 M3? Shit, I don't know. That'd be a tough call, because like E90 M3s are sweet. There is something definitely about an OEM E90 M3 with S85 in it. It's just the way they drive, the way they feel complete, cohesive as a car. It really is something else. Whereas this car with, you know, a cammed V8, I don't want to say it feels disjointed, but it feels like not what a BMW would be, or not what a BMW would make. It's totally badass, just in its own different way because of how torquey it is. And the E90 M3s lack all of that torque, but somehow make up for it with just like the awesome noise that it makes and the way it delivers power up top. The whole experience of an E90 M3 is just a little bit different than this. So I wouldn't necessarily say that one is better or worse than the other. Would I trade straight up for one? I mean, maybe. It would have to be a pretty good deal. It would have to be kind of a cleaner M3, lower-ish mileage, you know, maybe under 100,000 miles or something like that. And I would consider trading for one, but, you know, like a higher mileage one, if motor blows up on that thing, like, you're in trouble, dog. If the motor blows up on this thing, it's not the end of the world. Like, these motors are everywhere, and they're super easy to swap in, so that'd be a tough call for me, honestly. There's also something to be said for walking up to a car that you personally painted and put together completely, every nut and bolt. So there is also that factor too when comparing it to like a, you know, like a stock E90 M3 or something like that sort. Let's go take it for a spin. I think this is probably one of the best bang for your buck chassis you can buy right now, especially for a swap project that you're not going to end up like disappointed in because it's some piece of crap chassis that doesn't perform the way that it's supposed to. Whereas like this chassis really does perform after you get done doing the swap. I think one of the best parts about this car is that it drives like a totally normal car. When you're just cruising it like a daily driver, it has the right amount of like, oh, this is like a fun sports car or project car, but at the same time, it's not too much to where it's almost annoying to drive all the time. It's like I put 5,000 miles on other cars otherwise. You're just over it. But even after 5,000 miles in this car, I still want to go drive it every single day. If you're considering a swap project, something fun to play around with, then you should highly consider this chassis.